Well, hello, my brothers and my sisters. This is your brother from another mother, Mark DeJesus, here live to address your questions. Yes, your questions that have come in regarding the avenue of OCD, obsessions and compulsions. Isn't that cool that you get to have an opportunity to have some of your questions addressed? I know when I've been in the heat of the battle, I've had my own set of questions, and it would have been nice if I could submit it to somebody who understood some of the battlegrounds that I face in my journey. So what I do here in these broadcasts is something that I wish was given to me. And in many ways, what you're seeing in my ministry work and what I provide in materials and books and resources is what I had hoped in my journey that I would be able to receive and to understand. And so I believe God is very involved in our mental health. I believe the Bible has a lot to say about mental health. We just have different terminologies or things that we sometimes say, oh, this is different, that's different. And many things that God has created for our mental health have been woven in scriptures for a long time. So I pray that today will be a blessing to your life and your journey. This is a way that I can serve the hearts of those that are in the tribe. I can't sit down and do one-on-one coaching work with everybody. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be wonderful. But it's just not possible. And I'm not Superman. There is only one superhero. His name's Jesus. And he does a good job of being that. And but I can be a brother from another mother and create this content. And so I see this as an opportunity for us to sit down and have some coffee or some tea or some hot chocolate or a bottled water or what, or whatever you would prefer, and give us an opportunity for me to be able to just share and speak to your heart. And I have a lot of questions that have been stacked up regarding obsessions and compulsions, specifically in that arena. Many times in my live feed, most of the live feed comments get taken up by people struggling with salvation OCD, specifically about not trusting enough, your salvation not being valid, and those kind of things. I really want to encourage you to go to the OCD help page, because while we want reassurance, is it okay? Obsessive-compulsive is something that requires a journey. You're gonna need to buckle up for a journey, and it's okay. I've buckled up for it. Come and join me. This is something that's going to need to be learned. I know we want to focus on our obsessions and try to fix them, but it just leads to more. So I really want to encourage you to have equipping for your work and for your journey. So if you find I need help with OCD, there's two things I'd recommend. One, the first step would be go to the OCD help page, because on that page is tons and tons and tons of resources that I walk you through. And if you have OCD, you need all of them. This isn't like, I just need that, need this. You'll need all of them. And it takes us time to realize that we need all of them, all of the topics and areas that I go into. Another way I can serve you is submit a question. Go to markdejesus.com/questions. And in there, you can submit a question. If the more concise the question is, the better. If it's something I've already covered multiple times, I may not get to it. And so hopefully that'll be a blessing to your life and to your journey. So I look forward to covering quite a bunch here. So let me get into the first one. Hello, everyone from all over the world, all over the country, wherever you are. I look forward to having some good moments where I can cheer you on. And I can also work through those difficult moments. Did you hear that? Anyway, let's. I wanted to mention too. Thank you, those of you. There's a couple people in the comment section of my videos. You pointed it out. Thank you very much. There was somebody impersonating me in my comment feed. That is a very strange thing to see for yourself. I've heard of other people talking about that. To have someone impersonating me, it was this big block of sentence in the name of Jesus. It was all this stuff. At first I was like, oh my goodness, fight or flight kicked in. But then it was refreshing to see some of you replying to fake me going, yeah, this isn't Mark. I was like, wow, that's so cool. You just knew it wasn't me. I was like, yay. So that deserves another round of applause. So so let me, I pray that what I share today will help add grace and add loving perspective to what you're going through in your journey. And the first one here is obsessive about praying for healing for other people. I've seen this and noticed this in my life and other people, so I think this will be helpful. Hey, Mark. Hey, this is something I feel stuck on, and I get different answers from different people. Maybe you can help. So this is my issue, and I wonder if you have any feedback. So I have people in my family that have chronic illness. I love praying for people when led by love and compassion. I tend to not pray when it feels compulsive, pressure-driven. When I feel that way, I just don't. I think that's good. That's healthy. I was with family this week, and I have an aunt who was in pain. It was just her and I, so I asked if I could pray with her for healing and for the pain to go. I was taught in ministry school that when we pray for people, we are to have them test out their healing. This feels terrifying, forced, and just horrible to me, like panic-inducing. I was having thoughts about having her, my aunt who was in pain, tested out and all that, but it just felt forced. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's not a rule that you have to follow to have them tested out. I think that the intent of that tested out was to move past. In the older days, in certain healing movements, they just pray for people, right, and just move on. This was a step to kind of go, hey, I'm here with you in this. Let me know if nothing happened and how does it feel? Is anything to be active in the moment and to acknowledge this isn't like I'm praying for you and I have this perfect prayer and I'm learning too. And I think it encouraged us to learn along the way. So go, hey, test it out, because maybe it would help if I just prayed again. And we'll work together on this. And I know it can be very, very common for Christians who believe in healing and want to see healing happen in their lives or people's lives, like physical healing, like praying for people with physical ailments to see healing. I know that I struggled with a obsessive distortion. If I saw someone in a wheelchair, I'm like, I should probably go pray for that person right now. Maybe I need to pray for them. Someone like I needed to address everything, and it was emotional overload for me. So I began to more follow what you're talking about, this compulsive pressure, this guilt-ridden kind of thing. That's not God at work in here. You have a heart for healing. Praying for healing is great. You don't have to do the checking thing. Check your symptoms. I think just you praying for your aunt. What do you all say? Aunt. It's kind of weird calling it an aunt, my aunt, right? But just you and your aunt. Now I feel, like I'm saying the word weird. So here's my goofiness, coming through. So I agree with you in the feel force. I've always struggled with the tested out thing. I'm planning to go see my daddy this coming weekend, and he has severe physical issues. I love him and I do pray with him when I see him, but I'm having intrusive thoughts about you have to make him test out healing, or maybe he won't get healed because of your lack of faith. Yeah, that's leading into compulsion. So you're going to need to starve that. And I talk about how the problem isn't the problem. When we're with somebody, a loved one that's sick, this obsessive thing can rise up. I should pray, I should do something, or I got to do the prayer in the right way. Remember, the problem isn't the problem. It doesn't let us connect to the suffering that people are going to, the hardship. It's painful. It's painful emotionally to watch someone who's wheelchair bound, who's going through something physical. We feel the humanity. We feel the effects of the brokenness of the world and the effects of just sickness and disease. So we get lost in I should be praying, and it distracts us from the emotional of the moment of just letting ourselves grieve and connect, weep with those who weep kind of thing. So let me go back to your question. So you don't have to do this thing with your dad. I don't even know that you don't need to go there with the thing, I got to pray for him. Go and connect lovingly, and let compassion be there. And love has a way of leading us through the heart of the Father and his heart for people. And sometimes it's better to not pray. It's better to not do the spiritual act you think you need to act. And that goes against, so many people out there that they always have a green light. Just do it. And many times, no, don't. I don't know what to do with this. I know I sense with an exaggerated sense of responsibility. Well done. I talk about that in the distortions, that number 5, inflated responsibility. So you're confronting that in your life. Fantastic. I also have a leader who is going to MD Anderson. That's a hospital, right? After having something come up on a mammogram. We are all praying for her. Again, I have these thoughts that I have to pray a certain way or she won't be healed. Yeah, we want to throw that out and let yourself just connect to love for that person. And if the opportunity arises in that flow of love, not forced, not pressured, that's where you want to be. I've always struggled with the whole testing the healing thing out. It feels forced. I just hate to do it. I don't know what to do with it. When I try to figure it out, it sends me into panic, anxiety spiral. My pastor has advised me to only pray that way when I feel specifically led by the Lord. Right. And your pastor means well, but for obsessors, they don't know. They often go, well, I don't know what being led is, because they're used to just being under the compulsive pressure of things. So learning to be led is a lot more gentle. It's a lot more patient. God's working is, it brings edification. It works in his love. It's patient. It's not this hurried, pressured, I've got to do this urgency that gets blown out of proportion. I have recently left the hyper-charismatic movement, and he has different perspectives on healing. I know that my mental health matters, and I can allow myself to spiral and freak out when I don't know what to do with something. I've asked the Lord to show me what the issue is. I struggle in general with theology around healing. I don't get it. Yeah, physical healing is a difficult subject, and a lot of ministries kind of lean towards one side or the other. That gets into, I believe, some concerning patterns where like God doesn't heal, or God does, but we're going to do a lot of things to cover up when healing doesn't happen. We're going to make up stuff or condemn people or tell them they don't have enough faith. And it's not option A, it's not option B, it's C. There's a recognition of the times of struggling to pray for people and they don't get healed, and yet not blaming God, not blaming people, but learning to grieve, learning to process. This is a very challenging subject for me and for a lot of honest people. I always pray and believe God for healing, and because I believe that is his heart, but I also don't know that it is his will to heal every single time or right at that moment. So I don't know what to do with all this. Well, I wouldn't walk around with the weight of, is it the will of God in this moment? There's this weight there. You have re-release from that weight. And maybe for you, just detox praying for healing for people for 30 days. For 30 days, no praying for healing. Mark, what are you saying? You tell me not to pray for people? How could you? Yeah, it's all right. God's going to still work without you praying for people for healing. 30 days. 30 days, take a break from it, and then write to me. And tell me after 30 days what you observed. I have been able to raise $800 to start seeing my old therapist, who's a Christian and understands ERP. I hope you can discern the heart of my message and respond accordingly. I'm not generally a shy person, but things like this send me into a panic spiral. I think facing that I have a weakness or that there are just things that I'm not sure about, there is this pressure to fix. There's the perfectionism and to figure out myself. Help. So, so there's your assignment. Don't pray for healing for people for 30 days and see what you observe. And see, you'll probably have some withdrawal symptoms come up. You'll feel some savior responsibilities on your shoulders, and guilt will rise up. Well, you don't really care for people. You don't love Jesus, and you're not helping people in the way you should. And we'll realize all this stuff that comes to the surface, it's not of God. And he's not putting that yoke. He's not putting that that weight upon you in your life, in your journey. Okay. So again, if you have questions, you can send them in, markdejesus.com/questions. You can also go to make sure in all things, go to the OCD help page. There is just tons of free material. I have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours putting together stuff for your healing and freedom journey. Okay. This is going to kind of get into, it looks like, some relationship OCD kind of stuff, OCD, religious OCD, and you're pregnant. So we're going to dive into this for a bit. How do I get out of this stuck situation? Hey, Mark, I'm in a bit of a pickle in many different areas right now. Well, for some people, a pickle is great. I love pickles, love relish, right? I love relish on a good hot dog. Ooh, that's fantastic. Good relish. And I don't like onions. I don't like onions. But if you cut up those onions really small and put it on a hot dog, amazing. Amazing. And I don't eat bread, so I miss out on that like hot dog in a bun. Fantastic. With some ketchup, mustard, and some relish. So, and have a good burger with a pickle on the side. So, anyways, I get what you're saying, a bit of a pickle. I've been dating a guy for about 9 months now, and I'm pregnant with his child. He's such a great guy, although I struggle to love him the same way he loves me. I want this to work, aka get married to him and have a family, and believe God could do a work, but the belief has been, it's been wrong from the get-go, and God doesn't want me to be with him. He is Catholic and doesn't have an understanding of a relationship with God like I do. I'm assuming you're Protestant in some sense of, in that realm of Christianity, so to speak, right? I have been so broken with this whole scenario. I've broken up with him and gotten back together with him so many times. I have everyone in my circle of people that likes him and believes that God wants to create a family and blessing out of all this. Wise counsel telling me that. I have everyone in my circle of people that likes him. So there's a lot of factors here that I wouldn't even know how to address, because I'd have to know what kind of wise counsel are you getting. Because what we're doing, a lot of people write me questions where they have a series of decisions that they've made, directions, and now they're at this crisis point. And so it's like this weight of, okay, now what do I do? And the answer is multifaceted, because there's many layers here of what's going on, because now that you're pregnant, it reveals that you were having premarital sexual relationship. And so when you cross that boundary of sexual intimacy, you're now tied with the person. It gets confusing where things are at, where things are going. Emotions can go all over the place. And then within this, you do have, it seems like you have a sense of relationship OCD, where relationship OCD struggles with landing and feeling secure about given relationships. It could be friendship. It can also be dating and marriage. It can affect all areas, because there's a struggle with intimacy. So you got to feel just right to feel in love. Because on one hand, you say, I want this to work. That is a bit of expressing an aspect of what love looks like, because love says, I choose you. Love doesn't say, I feel this about you. Love says, I choose you. So it then, that's a fundamental aspect of love and marriage. But there's a whole series of things going on where now you're pregnant and you're like, well, he's Catholic, I'm different. So one of the biggest things I would recommend is you and your boyfriend need to get counseling on, are you guys on the same page, getting on the same page? Because there's a lot of things now you have a child on the way, that it's like, okay, we have to have a sense of like, we got to work on ourselves. I'd recommend very regular, not just counsel advice kind of thing, but actual counseling and therapy from a Christian standpoint of, are the two of you on the same page in your faith walk? And if not, what is this going to look like? Because you have some big decisions to make. And so this is not just like a one simple thing answer that's going to solve everything. Most of the issues I address here are not just a simple answer. It's going to the root system, because we'll have to navigate through what led to the choices that you've made up to now, and compassionately let God work, in some cases heal, in some cases mature. So you have people telling you around you, this is a good relationship. So they're kind of saying you've got some issues that's not allowing you to just land in it. They are telling me the enemy wants to steal from me. I'm the one who's hesitant because I want to love him in this way. That is lacking when I hang out with him now. It seems like that thought alone has created more doubts, and I'm annoyed by things he does and sad about it because I want to grow my relationship with him. So here's an honest truth about people. And again, I don't know you. I'm just going by some things I've read here. I've glanced through some of the other sentences you've written. I'll get to that in a second. Here's the thing about OCD, relationship OCD people. And I say this with all love because I'm one of them. And what I'm going to say is going to be kind of black and white, but it's important to understand. To this day, I've never met anyone that's as bad as I was with relationship OCD, and it was pretty bad. It was awful. Relationship OCD sufferers have a deep immaturity in what their reference for love is. Very, very immature. And so it leaves us with some, we got to catch up, because you'd be 25 years old, but there's like a 10-year-old as far as like what love is. So there's some maturing that needs to take place in the development. And when you have OCD, then you're always checking, always look, I mean, I love him. I don't know that I love him. I don't really feel that. You're checking for the feeling. You're checking for the feeling to be just right in there. Then you're looking out and go, maybe I love that person. Maybe I love this person. You struggle with where attraction is or feeling. It's a obsessive distortion, and it'll keep growing. The more you feed it. So you've broken up, gotten back together, broken up, probably feeding that cycle and not allowing you to navigate working through the discomfort of vulnerability, commitment, relationship. So now you're getting annoyed and nitpicking things. That's a common OCD thing. You pick out in others something that bothers you about them, but it's really something about you that's uncomfortable with imperfections, with intimacy and vulnerability. So I'm giving you some feedback on the OCD aspects, but also you're going to be a mom. You're going to need some encouragement and help through that. And what is this going to look like moving forward? So there's some multiple facets of issues all happening here at the same time. I do love him. God has given me a love for him, but the romantic part is lacking. It's been almost impossible for me to spend time with God because I'm afraid he's saying what I don't want to hear. And my heart aches when I get into his presence and I don't know what to do with the pain. I just want to run away because I sense he's saying things through my pain or something. I want to find out if these voices in my life of wise counsel are really tapping into God's leading for my life or not. There's a lot of OCD here. It's the neurotic checking and looking. I got to make sure I'm hearing from God. Is it what they're saying? So it's creating a lot of disturbance. When I've gotten wise counsel in the past, I rarely take it because I've dealt with OCD type situations in the past, and I doubt within myself that God would be telling me these things. I feel like God is always telling me to do the hardest things all the time. Yeah, you have a fear and guilt relationship with God. So anyone who goes, I'm afraid of going to God because I'm afraid he's going to tell me something I don't want to hear. There's many Christians that would go, yeah, you're avoiding stuff. Yeah, I hear what they're saying, but when you have a guilt and fear-based relationship with God, you're in constant avoidance. So and shame clouds things. So it's been a hard pattern. It's been hard for me to connect to God because the discipline aspect that scares the mess out of me. Yeah, you have a punishment-based relationship with God. I struggle with ruminating and control a lot. FYI. As if we didn't see the ruminating all the way through here. I'm stuck and I really want to get closer to God and be able to love like the father of my children and also have the capacity to love my own child when he or she gets here. Thank you for your time to read this. Yeah, you need some work in OCD because OCD is clouding your vision. And that's why I call these distortions. These are distortions. Like this is they distort how you read the Bible. They can distort how you pray. They distort how you interact with people. They distort what you're hearing, what you feel God is saying. So, it's I know it's challenging because it's a collision of things going on here, and but you want to build a solid relationship with God. I hear your heart in that. So make some good decisions now to work on things. Sit down with your boyfriend, get help, and let counsel sit down, talk about getting on the same page of your faith walk. I'm a big believer in people when they get married, be equally yoked. And what I mean by that is not, are you a Christian? Did you check that box off? Yes. Are you Christian? Did you check that box off? Yes. Oh, you're equally yoked. It's more, are we on the same page as far as how we go about the things of God? Now, I know OCDers, they can go, well, you read a New King James and I read an NIV. I don't think we can be married. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying overall value system. Do you go about your journey approaching God where you're working together in that? Because that's the foundation you want to set for a healthy marriage. And those of you that are already married and you don't have that, go back to the foundation and rebuild it. Get back to the foundation. God is always revisiting the foundation with us. And OCD strugglers have a hard time with this. And listen, everyone, listen to me. Listen to the words I'm about to say. We have a hard time with God's constant work on the foundation, because we think that means we're not saved. And the whole New Testament talks about things of going back to the foundation, being rooted and established. Repent and go back to the first works, laying down the foundation, right? Getting to those important fundamental things. You don't hear them say, go back and get saved all over again because your salvation was not legitimate. He's saying, no, we've got to firm up the foundation. And for relationship OCD, the firm foundation is you don't know how to interact and have reference with the beauty of love in its truest form. You have a immature definition of love. People say that I say the word immature strange. How do you say it? Immature. You say immature? I say immature. Immature. Maybe because I was made to live more in the UK. Immature? You're incredibly immature. That sounds so condescending, doesn't it? Like if I say, you're immature. It's like, okay. But if I say you're immature, it's like I've just slapped you with some condemnation. All right, let me get into another one before I get into rambling. I don't want to have too much fun here today. So, Christian. Dear Mark, I've been struggling with a lot of very specific issue thought patterns that have been bothering me immensely and has been recently preventing me from growing more in my faith. I have a really big fear of getting closer to God because I'm afraid that the enemy will attack me. I've heard many other believers talk about stuff like this happening to them when they started to fully walk in God's purposes for them, and the thought of it has paralyzed me. Yeah, because you were taught superstition. It's not Bible, it's superstition. It's like, if I go further with God, the enemy's really after me. I mean, there is some evidence to that happening. Of course, in your journey, we're learning to be overcomers. How are you going to be an overcomer unless you have something to overcome? There is an aspect where you could say, well, when the enemy has us living in whatever he's got in our lives, and when we break out, he starts attacking. Sure. But we do get very superstitious with the enemy. And listen, I'm very, very big on we are in a battle, we are in a war. If you hear my materials, it's right there. But we do get very superstitious, and it makes OCDers spin out on superstition, which is fear-based. Fear often comes out in superstitious religious activity, right? And it happens in a lot of ways. You something happens in your life, and you're like, well, I better pray, because maybe if I didn't pray, that's why this happened. I remember when I was a kid, we got into a car accident, and my dad goes, it's because we didn't pray before we left. So he made that wiring connection. So in me, I was like, I better pray before I leave every time I leave. How many of you did that? How many pray traveling mercies? Any traveling mercies? I know that the feed's on a delay, so it'll take a minute for this to get to the comment section. Any of you grew up praying traveling mercies every time you left the driveway, right? It's terrible for an OCD, or they'd be like, I didn't do it. I forgot. Any traveling mercies? I'm going to wait for it. Anything? No? Y'all commenting about your salvation or something? Anybody? Y'all comment on so many things, but anybody pray traveling mercies? Give me a okay, here we go. All right. Right? And if you don't, then right, it's superstition. Now, is it wrong to pray traveling mercies? No, it's fine. I think there are so many rituals we do that are wonderful, right? Sitting down and praying for your food, right? What's the purpose of that? The purpose of that is giving thanks. There's a sanctifying work to that moment, even to the food that we eat. The Bible says that our food is sanctified through giving of thanks and of prayer. Like, what does that even mean, right? Well, some people think it means like they can go eat McDonald's and like the toxic nature of McDonald's is not going to affect you, right? Well, they were used to like food having maybe some contaminants or something, and Thanksgiving's a powerful moment, right? But then if we're doing it out of fear, then the ritual becomes not what it was meant to. Prayer was not to be done just out of fear. If I don't, then this. I got to read my Bible. If I don't, right? So I know I'm going to some tangents. Yes. Traveling mercies. All right. You guys got my back. Thank you. I've struggled a lot with anxiety and OCD since I was really young, and know that fully committing myself to God and living his love consistently will greatly benefit my life. There's that pressure, that perfectionistic, fully committing myself to God. That becomes a mindset of pressure for the OCDer. Am I fully? I don't know if I'm fully. Are you committed? I am committed. Fully? I don't know. Am I fully? And then you check for any area of your life that's not fully. Like, because we're fully. Has anybody seen Fully? I don't know. I don't think I'm fully. Then goes, I'm not saved. Right? That's where it goes. So anyway, I'm not trying to be nitpicky. I'm just pulling out the patterns that we often fall into. Love consistently will greatly benefit my life, which is why I'm so afraid of a possible warfare immediately coming the way once I decided to take that jump. So there's a fear-based relationship with God, fear that in the form of superstition, and a fear of the enemy, a fear of spiritual warfare. You have a fear of it. And so a lot of spiritual warfare teachings have within it a fear of the enemy ingrained into it. It's like, you better do this, close the door point, make sure you close that door point, get the other door. And I'm looking for doors. Where's that door? Got to break this curse, break that curse. Like, okay, right? And there's elements of truth within these things, but they get fear-based. And now you're chasing stuff and you're becoming neurotic in spiritual warfare. And I want to release people from that. That's going to create striving, and you're going to drive yourself crazy. I'm so afraid of a possible warfare immediately coming my way once if I decide to take that jump. So you're afraid of warfare, but you're acting like warfare is out there. You're already in it. You're already in warfare. Fear is all over this. So you're already in warfare. You're worried about warfare, afraid of warfare, but you're in warfare, but you're afraid of going to warfare because you don't think you're in warfare, but you think warfare is out there when you're actually in warfare. How many times can I say warfare? You're in warfare right now. It's right now. Why am I yelling? So you're afraid of the enemy, superstitious, and afraid of God. So it's safety, learning to walk the journey. David said when he said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you're with me. That's your verse. That's your word. Connecting to his proximity of walking with you as you walk through that which you fear, and you don't have to fear evil. So someone taught you to be afraid of evil. I'm really busy. I'm in a really busy time in my life, right? That's filled with lots of responsibility, and connecting with God during this time will definitely help me grow closer to him. I would say slow down your busyness. The fear is making you busy. It's living stressed out and amped up. I'm also afraid the enemy will try and attack me, even if I think about doing this. Well, the fear is already there, so you're already in warfare. So let's just check that off. You're afraid of warfare? You're already in it. I also struggle with health anxiety and trauma regarding hospitals. So spiritual warfare in my life usually comes in the form of one of my really close family members who has multiple health issues, taking scary midnight emergency trips to the ER, which has impacted me a ton. I try to convince myself that this crippling fear that I have of the enemy's spiritual attacks is literally a spiritual attack in itself, but I don't really know what to do. I just can't handle spiritual warfare at the moment, but I also need to be closer to God and create a deeper relationship to him. What do? Take a deep breath. That's what you do. Take a deep breath. It's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure to go to the hospital, do these things, help your family, and pressure. I got to make sure I get this right, and I got to go to God. I got to get closer to God because it's time to get closer to God. But I'm afraid the devil's going to get. And forgive me that I get like amped up, animated, but sometimes I like to display for you what's going on in your heads, because then you could realize God's not putting this pressure. So what do? Take a deep breath right now. Slow it down a little bit. You're worried about warfare, you're already in it. You got all these fears. And what's the fear telling you? You're not safe. So we got to go back to 1 John 4. He who fears has not been made perfect in love. So what would it look like for you to start learning the safety of being loved by your Father in heaven and you being loving to yourself? All right, so that's my feedback. And I think I'm going to get into some more. Oh, you guys who jump in the comments, you're going to love this one. This is the "You're Not a Real Christian" one. So that's a very, very common one. Salvation, OCD kind of stuff. Am I really right with God? Am I really a good Christian? Am I good enough Christian? Am I fully? Where's fully? That's a new one that we're going to do. We're going to go, have you met my friend fully? My friend fully. He's fully committed. Not my friend half, when I don't want to be friends anymore, half committed. And then there's that friend really bad, partially committed. So then we have we go to church with meters. Do you have committed meters? Like bing, 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 fully committed. Yes, I passed. And it's like, you're 75%, 75%. You better watch it. You're not fully, you're not fully committed. Then we're checking our committed meter. Please put me in fully. Please. I'm not in fully. I'm never in fully. Thank you so much for your ministry and all the support you give online. I've emailed you about my OCD before. I don't expect you to remember, as I know you receive countless messages, but wanted your thoughts. I've been considering the online coaching with you, but it doesn't seem likely due to the cost at the moment. I get applications and stuff. People, they go see a video and then they sign up for coaching. And it's like, this is a journey. This is a process. And I'm not saying don't get help or ask me for help or go get help somewhere. But OCD freedom requires a renovation of how we approach our thoughts and how we approach safety, how we approach love, how we relate to ourselves. That's going to take a relearning. So give yourself a journey approach to learn. I became a follower of Jesus in 2010, was catapulted into ministry. Shut out like a rocket. Did an internship right away, 3-year theology degree, and trained to be a minister. By 2016, I completed all my training and was about to get ordained. Unfortunately, I became very unwell and been on the sick ever since. That's a cool way of saying it. I've been on the sick. I don't know if you meant to say it that way. I've been on the sick lately. You been on the sick? I've been on the sick. Ever since 2017. I've been in and out of psychiatric hospitals due to my mental health. I don't mean to chuckle because you're going through something here. I just commenting on you saying I've been on the sick. And so my heart goes out to you because some things were erupting. I would guess this whole ministry avenue is a lot of pressure. I'm going to minister. I got my degree now. I'm getting ordained. Okay. Now I got to go work for God. And then it might bring out a lot of pressures that you carry within yourself. So you You've been in and out of psychiatric hospitals due to your mental health while also going to an OCD specialist hospital in 2021 for treatment. People in psychiatric wards or hospitals, they got to have a radar for OCD. They got to have a radar for OCD because you can pick up on it of where these distortions can take people. I'm doing so much better now, but still suffer with the OCD and BDD. Is that the body dysmorphic? You have to forgive me. I get lost in all the abbreviations. I know that this is stuff I talk about, but sometimes I gotta hit the Google and just, what was that again? I've done a lot of therapy work, but I'm finding the top of my hierarchy therapy work so difficult. So you're doing like exposure therapy stuff where you create like a hierarchy list of things and you work through it. My OCD revolves around many themes, but my worst one by far is the religious OCD. I get highly triggered by John Piper's theology of the glory of God. Okay. Is it because of holiness, like a holiness kind of, like God's perfect glory, like his glory speaks of the majestic holiness of his perfection? Because I'm not a big John Piper follower, but when I've heard some of his stuff or listened to him, it seems like he's emphasizing just the greatness of God in that. But I don't know. I've read so much of Jonathan Edwards' work on God's glory being the reason he does anything, but it doesn't settle well with me. Okay, here's my initial response to that. It doesn't settle well with you. Okay, the obsessive goes, I've got to fix that unsettled. And it's like, just lay it aside right now. It's not, the truth of God is not meant to lead you on some confusing rabbit trail. It either bears witness, it enlightens your heart, or it's just not to be understood right now. You just keep an open heart. But compulsion will lead you to go check Jonathan Edwards. You talking about the same Jonathan Edwards, a sinner's in the hands of an angry God? That's a rough message, by the way. And I know that history shows, there was great revival going around. We kind of attach the revival to that message. And I'm like, was it because he's talking about God like dangling us over hell? Very, very angry God who's irritated with us. I read it and I was like, wow, this is, I don't see this as God's heart. Like, yes, there's a hell, yes, those kind of things, but we're sending people into an anxiety, fear-based relationship with God where we're going to avoid him. So, okay, it doesn't settle with me well. So you kind of take that and go, okay, it doesn't settle. I don't get it. Like, even people who listen to me and you go, I don't know, what Mark said didn't settle. Like, all right, go about your day. I'm not for everybody. I'm not the perfect voice for everybody. And if it doesn't make sense, like, just set it aside. You don't have to throw it away necessarily. Just set it aside. I don't get it. There's things in my journey right now I don't get, and they're just on the side burner. I don't need to solve them. I don't need to figure those things out. I'm paying attention to what I am learning and what I am understanding, because that's where the beauty is. That's where the growth is, right? But obsessives are like, I'm missing something. I got to chase that. So, okay, here we go. Now, we're going to see here in clear fashion, distortion number 3, distorted meaning of thoughts. Interpretation. I want to meet your interpreter, because your interpreter needs to be fired. Because here it is. You mentioned John Piper. You mentioned Jonathan Edwards. My mind says, well, a real Christian would accept this and love it. But you have a problem with it. It's like, in a land far away, a man had a thought. That thought seems strange because he is not a good Christian, and you're not a real one. Coming soon this Christmas, not a real Christian. It's a lie. It's a lie, and I could tell you that it's a lie because it plays in thousands of people's lives. But I'll tell you why it seems true to you. Not because it's true, but because of the feeling. So follow with me, brother. The feeling behind the thought. So the feeling is distorted because OCDers have distorted feelings. Number 7, have difficulty with emotions. They don't know how to name what they're feeling and what it means. And then distortion number 3, they get a false interpretation. Then they follow the interpretation. So what is a real Christian, right? Like let's look at that. What is it real? If you ask people out there, what is a real Christian? 90% of what you're going to hear is some kind of performance-based, legalistic kind of thing. Well, a real Christian does this and does that. Real Christian, right? So it's a perfectionistic spinny. So my mind says, well, a real Christian would accept this love and love it, but you have a problem with it. That's accusatory. So now we're attaching this as God. So God's an accuser, and he's accusing us. You're not a real Christian. She's condemning you. So now God condemns now God condemns you. And here's the yeah but that OCDers struggle with, right? And if you can understand how this impacts you, it could help you a lot. You struggle with receiving exhortations, even things I'm saying, because it flips to either my salvation's not real. So then if I give you a scripture, you go, well, that doesn't apply to me because I'm not really saved anyways. What if I'm an outsider? Right? So it's your yeah, but what if, yeah, but what if, yeah, but what if keeps disqualifying you, right? We're playing these dodge games. Yeah, but what if, 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 yeah, but I'm going to make that one word. Yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if? Yabba, 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 what if? 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 So I'll give a scripture, 1 John 4:18. Yeah, but what if that's meant only for Christians and not for non-Christians? And I'm a non. The problem is not the problem. Is this for Christians or not? It's they just keep dodging. They keep dodging love. They're uncomfortable with love. So when love shows up, they dodge it. They dodge around it. And they say, I'm not really worthy to be loved, so I'm not a real Christian because I'm uncomfortable with unconditional love because I've never been loved growing up. And I don't know what that is because I've been trained in performance-driven Christianity, which is not a real thing. I'm going to have fun today, folks. If you're going to send me these questions, I'm going to have fun because you need to laugh here. And I know this is serious. I know you've been into psychiatric hospitals, and I know that in many ways, mental health is a real battle for your life. But I want to cut through to this since you've had a real battle that these things are lying, but only you can say this is a lie, but my feelings tell me it's true. Therefore, here's your new interpreter. I need to be able to. What is that? Hold on. Hold on just a second. Just check. Sorry, I don't mean to startle anyone. I just didn't know what that was. I'm sitting here. I hear a noise. I think you probably came through the microphone. It's like, I don't know, something fell. There it is again. There it is again. It's the devil. Hello? I think my kids might be doing something. Hold on a second. You're getting real-time stuff going on here. It's my wife. It's my wife. She forgot I was in a broadcast. She's over in a storage room. Going. Was it? Yeah, it was my wife and my dog. Levi was there too. Right? Some of you are like, wait, what am I hearing? Am I hearing voices? Am I hearing voices talking about mental health, and then I'm hearing noises like, dude. I know you all heard that. It was like, what is happening? Oh, man. Goodness. So, now, is my stream active? Everybody can hear me okay? Well, I'm glad you guys are digging the humor, because some people don't like humor. They don't like laughing. They don't like laughing at their problems because it's serious. It's serious. So even in sessions, you'll be sitting down with somebody and they're talking about their OCD battle or whatever, and they're so serious. And it's like, I'll even make a joke and it doesn't break at all. And I know these battles are difficult. I know. But one of the things we have to welcome is even just crack that smile just a little bit. You got to say yes to laughter, because some of your freedom is actually going to be laughing at this stuff. Do you hear how I even how I'm reacting to certain things and laughing? Laughter is a major part of my healing journey. Major. And for many OCDers, they don't welcome it. It's like, just like this the whole time. And I get it. This is hard. This is difficult. So anyways, back to John Piper. I know I need to read his material, let the OCD get triggered, and resist compulsions, but it's so difficult. No, you don't need to read his material. This is where exposure needs context. You don't have... Hello? Clearly, I'm under attack right now. We can't get through a sentence without some kind of noise. Okay, so I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get through this with exposure, right? You think you need exposure to, is it Jonathan Edwards or John Piper? Maybe we can go to John Piper's house and knock on his door. Mr. Reverend Piper. No, it's like, so sometimes we go, I'm watching YouTube and this video talks about this. And it's like, I don't get it. It kind of disturbs me. We go, I need exposure to that. I'm more of a encourager to do exposure to things that you see it's interfering with your journey, right? I don't know that John Piper is the guy for you to listen to in this season of your life. I've listened to him, I get his perspectives. He's in a certain stream. And I can, with that in mind, I can hear where he's coming from. He has some great things to say. I visited his church once when I was in Minnesota. Was it in Minneapolis? I think it was, great things to say. He has a big ministry, reaches a lot of people. Many OCDers say they get help by him. Others say they get spun out by him. And I think that it's okay to go, I'm going to take a break from that right now. Now we say, well, that's avoidance. Maybe, but you're talking about what you're feeding yourself with. We're trying to feed on something. So like I said, if you get spun out reading the Bible, we're not going to go, well, get into Leviticus and read it. Like, shove your face in it. You're going to like it. You're going to like that Leviticus. You're going to like it. Read it. Read it. Yep. And all those verses, and you're going to get cursed and you're going to get sick. Read it some more. It's like, now eventually, maybe, at some point, but let's get context. Let's learn about love. Let's learn what it means to be loved. Let's learn what it means to be unconditionally loved. Now, if I go about my day and, I'm in a meeting with someone in person, let's say I'm at a business meeting, right? I'm at the bank or I'm at a meeting for something. And all of a thought comes in, an intrusive thought, to punch him in the face. And I feel that thought so strongly, I think I'm going to do it. And I get scared and I leave the room. Now this thing is getting in the way of normal everyday life. It's getting into daily functioning, right? So does that mean I'm going to go like every day, I'm going to go like meet with the bank or go, if that's a normal part of your daily routine, then yeah, and do the exposure and go through it without feeding the compulsion and learn to practice to feel safe. But I don't know that, I think you're putting a demand on yourself to have to listen to these teachers that are not really speaking into your life right now in a fruitful way. Some people have to take a break from church, take a break from sermons. Now, does that mean all sermons, avoid all sermons? Well, there's a lot of condemning preaching out there, I gotta say. It's kind of hard to find, like, I don't know. That's a whole nother topic in itself. So I've tried so hard and many times. So when you feel like you've tried so hard, right, that it's not seeing the fruit, it's either two things. One, you need to give enough time. And with OCD, it takes time. It could take weeks, months, right? Of repetitive exposure, therapists say 20 to 25 times at least in an actual therapeutic setting to break through. So we often quit, or we just need a nuanced shift in approach. It says maybe I need to try it this way. So, question, what if you had a thought and it went away, but you remembered the thought after it went away? So you're saying it came back. Just practice not being afraid of the thought and let it just pass right on through. Because it's very common to do that. You have a thought, it goes away. A lot of times remembering the thought is us checking for it and it comes back. Does that make sense? So anyways, my John Piper, Jonathan Edwards brother here got all kinds of noises in my studio going on and shook up the devil up in this place. Let me try to get my composure back. I'm like sweating now. So anyways, go to questions /OCD help. I got a bunch here, so I'm going to try to navigate these a little, just at least give you all some feedback. Okay. Hi, Mark. Thank you for all you do. I've grown so much and just have a question about the feeling or thought that something isn't right, or even though it is super irrational, it attaches to anything, people's faces, signs, random objects, and more. I'm just wondering if you have any advice on this. Yeah. That's obsession, and it's narrowing it down. So it causes you to check for it, and it causes you to hyper examine things. And it's showing you need a more gentler relationship with your thoughts. That when you look, I have people that look at things and they see weird things in them, or they're checking things in their body, or they see things in people's faces, maybe strange things, or they see they see a flaw in someone, or they see like almost their face looking distorted, or they might look at a window and see a weird shape in the window, and now they notice that weird shape, or just kind of strange sensory things. It's in need of having a more gentle relationship with your thoughts. For some of you too, it means you need to get more sleep. And I know we sometimes we avoid the practical. We're like, no, it's got to be another issue. And but yeah, it's being more gentle. You see that? Oh, I see a weird thing in that thing. Okay, and just let it fly on by. Not, why is that happening? Why am I doing that? Oh my God, that. Then next step of questioning, ruminating, gives it more life. Oh, I had an audio question, but I'll have to cover that next time because I didn't get a second to. I wanted to use that to illustrate some OCD stuff, but I didn't get a chance to. Forgot. I'll do that next time. Next question. I love listening to your replays. It helps me to think things through and be more rational with myself. I struggle with so much, to be honest. I'm 34, married, no kids. Oh, you know what? This is tied to the audio question too. I see. Is it the same person? Yeah, same person. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna hold this till next time. I know I got started in it. You're like, oh, that's my question. I'll say, because it was also tied to the audio question. It was like two different things. I just got to put them together and get to that next time. So, gonna get into, my wife doesn't understand my OCD. Hi, Mark. Thank you for everything you're doing. I try not to listen to your broadcast too often because I know that I can use them as a coping message, but I appreciate it every time I listen. Okay. Yeah. I mean, many people write and say, I get a lot of comfort listening to you. It's all right. Okay. I have a frustrating situation. I struggle with scrupulosity and sexual OCD. I'm constantly afraid I may have lusted when I see someone or notice something, and I'm always afraid that I've done something wrong if I find someone attractive or think about a woman that's not my wife. I think somebody in the over in the oh, my wife's into the comments. Okay, she's okay. She's explaining why she was up upstairs in storage. Okay. Wasn't somebody just commenting on this? I thought I just glanced and saw. Am I seeing things? Am I hearing things? I know someone. I'm not trying to point somebody out. Somebody wrote something about having a thought, and if they just see a thought of a woman that's good looking, it's good looking. Is anybody in here good looking? Give me 1 second. Oh, by the way, I love this statement right here. Can I challenge everyone that even if the scenario isn't your specific scenario, to hear his heart and understand that the overarching principles apply to all OCD. Mwah! Mwah! Thank you. That's helpful. Where was it? I tried. I lost the spot. That's why a lot of times super chats are, like I say, super chats, because it's hard for me to find. But somebody said a comment about this. Even if I saw a quick glance, even if I have a thought of a woman, a 1% thought of a woman that's beautiful or something like that. So this is a common OCD battleground that I run into a lot. I've run into myself. And so I think what you're going to get to is you have this battle, but your wife interprets it that you're a lustful person, and she gets angry and probably withdraws. Let me read the whole question, and then let's talk about this. I know that you know how the rest goes. That's funny. Spiral of shame, guilt, confession. I let this hurt me without knowing what it was for a long time. Unfortunately, I confess a lot to my wife, and I really hurt her. It's to the point that she wants a divorce. I've tried to explain that I finally understood that it's OCD, but she just believes I'm lustful and I'm always wanting other women. There are a lot more specifics I can get into, but overall, I know that I'm struggling with a horrible thing that's pushing me to think horribly about myself and others. And my wife thinks that I want to do those things. I've tried to explain, but she thinks that a lot. I do not want a divorce, but I know I can't stop her. I'm so frustrated. I know that I play the main part in this because I've dragged her into this OCD and hurt her horribly. But now she thinks one thing, and I can't change her mind. She's certain that even if I turned myself around and didn't struggle with this anymore, that she would still leave. I think I believe her. I just hate that we don't see this problem the same way. I'm not sure what to do, if there's anything I can do. I'm not sure how to think about this. I would appreciate any insight, and I apologize if I didn't give enough detail or too much. Well, I can definitely see that you have OCD battle going on here. So this goes beyond even OCD. I think that there's a lot of problems in marriage navigating this area of attraction. In the average Christian marriage, if one spouse says, that guy, or if a lady, the wife goes, yeah, the guy, he was this very attractive guy. A lot of marriages, the guy's going to spin out. Or do you think you like him? You love with him? But a lot of times If a man goes, yeah, that lady, that lady that was, she's a pretty lady, that say something like that, not meaning anything. It's like, oh, she pretty, huh? Pretty, huh? So what do you mean by that, right? We have a lot of insecurity when we come into marriage, just in general. It doesn't have to be OCD. And what I felt was a problem I see over and over again. Christian husband and wife walking in the mall. Pretty lady walks by. Most guys, I'm going to tell you what a lot of guys think. Oh, great. They become like nervous. And then they start going, just don't look. Because they're afraid their wife, who's now looking at him and examining his eyes, he's like, keep your eyes straight, keep your eyes straight, keep your eyes straight. And so now it just, as she's examining, did he look? Did he look? And then maybe if you just go, I looked. And she's like, yes, you did look. So we create this very, very pressurized thing around good-looking people. And Melissa and I have talked about this a lot in our podcast. We certainly a problematic issue with lust is something that we all have to deal with in various areas of our life. But part of the problem too is we pressurize it under shame, and we can't just acknowledge it's an attractive person. We don't know how to just leave it at that. So I know plenty of guys, like, their worst nightmare is being in a public setting where a very attractive lady walks by. Not because he's going to dream about having sexual relationships with her, but he's afraid of what his wife's going to say. And that creates a whole focus on what's the dynamic you have in your marriage of communicating your heart. My heart is to love you in all things and respect and honor you. But can we grow together to acknowledge things for what it is? In OCD, we have trouble seeing something just for what it is. There's always a deeper meaning to it. You have an intrusive thought. You can't just see it for what it is. Oh, there's that thought. I'm going to stab somebody. It's like, just float on by. It's like, I'm a murderer. I'm a murderer. Right? We have to dig into meaning. So when it comes to you going somewhere, and where the obsessive goes is they go, okay, I found her attractive. And now they go into interpretation. They can't just say, that's a good looking person. You joke about any famous movie star or something like that. Some of these people, they're very physically attractive. And if you're around them, you'd probably stumble in your words a little bit. Because they're just, physical beauty is intimidating. And we're just not used to having these, super attractive people everywhere around us. That's just the honest truth. But to be able to see it for what it is, what you do in the obsessive is you go, ooh, I felt something in seeing her. Then the next translation must mean that I'm having lustful thoughts about her. Now I'm committing adultery. So it just goes down the slip and slide. And then it's like, well, maybe I want to marry that person. Maybe I'm going to have adultery. This is a very, very, very big problem. So then you get other Christians around you and you go, I think I have an adultery issue. And they go, yes, let's pray for adultery. Let's pray for adultery. Let's break the spirit of adultery off of your life. Let's go into your generations and let's break off the spirit of generational adultery in your life, right? Okay, I get it, but it's like, time out. It's OCD. You're spinning. People that have an adulterous heart, they're often hard-hearted towards their adulterous ways. So people ask me, I had this thought. I was at the ice cream place and there was a kid. Oh my goodness, am I having sexual pedophile thoughts? I'm a pedophile. And pedophiles don't have remorse, empathy. They're in a totally different world. And maybe that's one of the things that has helped me in my gauging, is because in ministry life, I've seen the hardness of heart. And people write to me and go, I have a hard heart. I go, no, you don't. How do you know? Because you're asking for help. Just hard-hearted people don't ask for help. You think Pharaoh is the classic hard heart. You think he was asking for help? Do you think he was going, hey, if I've been wronged, I need help? Do you think he was? Do you think Pharaoh was going to his sorcerers and going, is there something I got to work on? No, he was just slicing and dicing. OCDers are way on the other side of the problem where they're hyperventilating, searching, checking and checking and checking. So with your marriage, you have to accept, okay, this is where it's at. There's been a lot of hurt, because where does hurt come from? It comes from a lot of misunderstandings too. Not just direct acts, but misunderstanding as well too. Lack of communication, healthy communication. So if there's any hope for your marriage, just let your wife see a more stable response to these thoughts, where it's like, yeah, this is a good looking lady, but it's all right. So live your life. And when you see attractive women, you practice being comfortable. So I have people, they sit in a business meeting, a lady and their attractive men sit there, and she's freaking out because she thinks that she's having certain feelings and stuff. Part of it is we don't have practice just being around each other in safe ways. So we hyperventilate, and we need to actually practice. And I found in my journey, it was very helpful just to practice interactions with brothers and sisters in a way that helps, because there's the opposite sex stuff, then there's the same sex stuff. Oh, I may have a gay thought, maybe I'm gay. Oh, that kind of thing that's going on. It's just showing we're just goofy and being able to interact with each other in healthy ways. And it doesn't even have to be obsessive compulsive. There's a general discomfort that Christians have around this. And so I want to take the shame off of it. And if I was working with you as a couple, we take the shame off of this issue, and then also recognize obsessive compulsive. And then I would ask your wife, forgive me for if this is rude, but I would ask your wife, you're telling me you never saw an attractive man and had a little thought go, oh, isn't he handsome? Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. Because you know where liars go. They go work at the weather station. So don't lie. That's a joke. That's a joke. A lot of times I go, you acting like you never had a thought about, you just didn't express yours. And you're not as obsessive compulsive. So you didn't express you never had a thought, Mr. Handsome over there. Or when you were in church and that usher walked by and you went, he's a nice, handsome man. And you've never had that thought ever, ever, ever. Come on. See, so we take the shame off, then we humble ourselves and we get rid of all this like self-righteous that you don't have. That's why Jesus was cutting through when he said, if you look at a woman with lust in your heart, you already committed adultery. He was like cutting past the self-righteousness of people like, well, I've not committed adultery. And so an OCDer is confessing and doing all this stuff and like, well, what is wrong with you? Like, wait a second. Jesus is going, hey, that thought that you had, that you meditated on and you pondered it, you didn't tell anybody about it. It's the same thing. So what's your deal? Okay. So now I'm going to get into thoughts in the heart in just a second, because somebody else I think wrote a question about. Maybe I'll put that one to the front a little bit here. Yeah, about the heart. That'll be a nice segue into that question. So, your wife says she wouldn't even if you got better, she's done. So she's hardened her heart in that way, and that's what it takes to go through divorce. There is a aspect of hardening your heart that has to happen towards that person. So you leave that in God's hands and just live your life more fruitfully now. Starve these compulsions. Okay, don't do this confessing stuff of because you looked and notice somebody, and practice noticing and then let it flow through. I don't need to take it any further than that. That also helps if, let's say you have these deep lust issues. It helps that too. To see her as a created woman that God created and loves her. She's someone's daughter, and learn to see that for what it is. It is what it is, and move on. So either way, you win. It's about being gentler with yourself in that, and learning to be more comfortable within yourself about this stuff. So, and I think it's okay for people to go, hey, that, I go, hey, that like Brad Pitt. I go, that Brad Pitt's a man, that's a good looking dude. Like he can just wear any suit or outfit and he just wears it well. I can look at a female, she's a pretty lady. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that there is lust in my heart that is at work there. So let's get into the thoughts, because this is actually an interesting question. I'll look up the verse just for the sake of it, but if you notice, I don't do a lot of verse checking with religious OCD. Mark, why? You got to be biblically based, because no matter what verse I bring up, somebody's going to have a yeah, but what about? Yeah, but what about? Right? So I got to be strategic. Okay. There's whatever enters your mouth, what comes out of your mouth proceeds from the heart. Okay, so here's the question. They don't waste any time. The question literally starts with, so in Matthew 15, this is OCD. It's just not even just, it's, hey, Mark, so in Matthew 15, let's just get to this. I got to get to the point. In Matthew 15, it says in 18 and 20, those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murderers, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. Maybe it would help if I did this while I'm reading it. Those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. All right, I'll stop this. Oh man, people are like, he's making fun of scriptures. So I'm not. I'm showing how easy it is to interpret. Because you notice with the music, it's like, whoa, this thing gets heavy. It gets heavy and heavy and heavy, right? So we want to hear the heart of what he's saying. These are the things which defile the man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man. So what Jesus was always cutting to was cutting the exterior, going to the interior. They established a religious culture on what is seen and what is visible, and on a legalistic law that oppressed people. And they would be self-righteous in their appearance. So they're like, oh, he didn't wash his hands, so he's defiled. And Jesus is like, I want to tell you what's really defiling, because what he was really calling out was all this stuff was in them. All this stuff was in the people that were, promoting, this kind of mindset. So out of the heart proceed. Did I read all of it? Yeah. You say, but to eat with all, yeah. To eat, okay. So finish. Okay. So I'm going to get to the answer to the question. So I think you can guess my focus is on the evil thoughts part. Ha ha ha. I know intrusive thoughts aren't controllable, but how can Jesus fault us for the things we think? Okay. How can Jesus fault us? So I've already got distortions in the question. So I'm expected to answer a question based on a distortion. So what you're saying is Jesus is going to fault you for your intrusive thoughts. And he's not. For the OCD, well, let me finish reading the question. I know intrusive thoughts aren't controllable, but how can Jesus fault us for the things we think when we don't want to or don't mean them? Unless I'm missing the whole point of the verse. Also, there's always a verse that bothers me. It's when Jesus calls the Canaanite woman a dog. It's not only a dog, it's a female dog. Yeah. So, all right, let me get back to the thoughts thing. OCD sufferers do not know how to distinguish between the difference between an intrusive thought, a passing thought, the pizza they had last night, and just a floating thing that's happening through, a season of just trying to work through something, right? Like you're struggling in your belief, or you're struggling and you're just going through a season. It doesn't mean that you're like putting this stamp, this is the permanent way I'm going to believe for the rest of my life. A true thought and meditation that's part of your belief system. A true meditation that you're pondering on, weighing on. So they think, for example, going back to my last question, seeing a woman going, she's attractive. The interpreter comes in and goes, you're an adulterer and you want to sleep with her and all these things. I'm an adulterer. I'm sinful. I'm guilty. I've cheated against my wife, right? This whole trail happens because they don't know how to distinguish a thought passing by, showing up. Just let it float on through. They see everything that shows up as an indication of who they are. So they don't know how to separate out. No, that's not me. It's all right. Even though I feel all these things, I feel these feelings. Yeah, but I felt something. When she walked by, I felt something. I felt something. Yeah, when a handsome guy walks by or a pretty woman walks by, everybody feels something. They just don't admit it. So again, OCDers, they don't know how to distinguish between these thoughts. So they treat anything that comes in as this is what Jesus, when Jesus is talking about out of your heart, in order to be a murderer, there are a number of things you possess in your heart as a way of life. Not like this is like you have struggle and a lot of people spin out too. This leads me to another tangent of Paul says certain people will not inherit eternal life, right? Or the works of the flesh manifest are these, right? We treat those as if you've done them, you're not going to have eternal life. And there's a difference in what Paul taught on something that is something you've done or a thought you've had and a manner of living. Okay? So living as false witness, living in the OCD doesn't understand how to recognize the difference. And part of that is learning to separate out. It starts with the fear and guilt that rises up. You've got to learn how to detox those as your primary mode of relating to everything, because that's how they relate. They relate to everything in fear and guilt, fear and guilt, fear and guilt. Must be me. And the interpreter takes over. And so my encouragement to all of you is if you struggle with this in any way, take 30 days. Take 30 days and instead of responding, going, I'm an adulterer, responding, going, I'm a murderer, responding, going, whatever, and spinning out in it, feeling like you got to confess. Just take 30 days and go, I'm just not going to respond to that for 30 days. Because I'm telling you, you'll see a difference. It's not going to change. Not going to all just disappear. Your response is going to be different. So anywho, all right, some more doubting. I'm doubting. OCD is the doubter's disease. It's the doubter's disease. When it comes to, somebody asked, when it comes to public evangelism, how do I differentiate between God asking me to speak from compulsion to speak? I want to be obedient, but I don't want to be a slave to fear-driven evangelism. Yeah, well, God speaking is like, you better go talk to that person. You better go talk. You better go talk. We're led by the Spirit, not driven by. Big difference, right? Driven is like, I'm pushing you from behind. Led is, come on, want to go? And I would focus on just loving people. If you want to live mentally healthy with all these subjects, evangelism, preaching, teaching, should I lay hands on healing? Should I lay hands? Should I pray deliverance? Should I do it? If you want to just like reset the whole thing, just focus on being compassionate in your heart towards people. See them through love, and then let that open up an organic opportunity, and then you're going to see the grace. And I've had to learn how to withhold that compulsive thing. To like, I need to say the sinner's prayer with them, you know. Let's see if I'm just checking. Right. People confuse temptation with sin as well. Right. Exactly. Having been tempted is not sin. Correct. Mark, I love how accessible your teaching is. So many of the Christian cliches I've been fed my entire life. All the Christianese, right? I get it. Yeah, the Christian cliches. I'll do a video on Christian cliches at some point. I had an idea for a video. What we're trying to say when we say Christian cliches. And a lot of Christian cliches, you want to know what the translation is? Like, you need to trust God more. You need to read your Bible more. Just give it to God. Do you know what they really mean? I don't have time to talk to you. think the more I try to argue with the thoughts, the stronger they are. I don't think an intrusive thought is a sin, but just an idea that pops up. Yeah. Yep. You're going to, in our lifetime, you're going to have every kind of thought probably float through. So you're just learning to practice. My issues, I get nervous when I'm trying to do ministry online. I always worry I taught heresy. Yeah, dude, I've had my share of nervousness too. So I hear you. That's, this is very vulnerable. Like, I know I'm laughing and stuff and having, this is taking work though and practice to work through this. Because you're like, wait, I have a ministry. I'm doing God's work. And then that like collar comes back on me again. And I'm like, I got to make sure. And then that collar gets so tight. And then, suit and tie is choking me. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. And I remember the most anointed me is me being myself. Okay, so let me get back to the question, a doubting question. I have the most horrible questions about Jesus that enter my mind. Not just a thought. Okay, here we go. Not just a thought. Are you ready? It's not just a thought. I gotta get more heavy with this. But a question that feels like a doubt. My OCD feels like real doubt coming from me. Yeah, it's just you'll need some learning in separating these things out, because the reason you feel it's coming from you is because it sounds like your own voice and you feel it. That's it. It doesn't matter the content. It's if you feel it, it sounds like something that originated. Every thought sounds like it came from us. Now, as you get more discerning, you start, people start to go, hey, that thought just came out of nowhere. We have that. So just an inability to separate this out. So you have an OCD thought, not just an intrusive thought like Jesus was a demon. My thought is like, how do I know that Jesus couldn't have been a demon? Right. That's a great example of a religious OCD intrusive thought. Something so like, if this thought is true, it's scary, right? OCD thrives where the stakes are high. What if everything I'm believing is a lie? And that's why salvation OCD is a common one. What if I'm destined for hell and I don't know it? And I've been deceived this whole time. What if this isn't real? What if you're not real? What if these Bibles on my shelf are not real? Right? And so then you start searching, you start compulsively reacting to them. Then I feel I must find an answer to do that. That's what I'm talking about. The compulsion. I find an answer to do this and know certainly that's not true. So I dive into evidence and find some answers. No, you're going to get distracted. You're going to get distracted. I got to make sure I have the right answer to this. So you're chasing a distortion, and you're going to feel lost, and you're going to feel moments of like, oh, okay, I think I'm okay. But then you're going to spin more later, and it's going to keep coming back. So you have a thought of the tomb was empty. The disciples could have reason to steal his body, and they couldn't have. What if the disciples were demons who stole him? Yeah, there is no end to what obsession can talk about. What about the dinosaurs? Where was Noah's Ark? Or, did Noah fake it? Was he not? There's all kinds of things you could, like I said, it's endless. This is the insanity inside my head all the time. No, this is insanity floating through your mind and many other people's minds. You're not insane. Any advice on how to overcome these thoughts that come to my head? I can't answer them. Yeah, stop answering them. Don't answer them. For the rest of your life, don't answer it. Let it float on by. Because you're feeding a thought based on doubt, and you're trying to answer doubt with 100% certainty that is perfectionistic. So, yeah, but what if? Well, here's my answer. Not resolved. Yeah, but what if? So when I help people with obsessive compulsive, I have to look for this. Yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if? They're not listening to me. And I saw this early on in my ministry. This guy would come up to me all the time, and he was he had an obsession about making sure he did the right things to find a wife someday. And he'd ask me, and what I got to do, to find a wife? And he was very, very, very neurotic about the subject. And I'd speak to his heart about his journey and where he's at. And after I was done, he would go, so then I'm going to find a wife? When you see that in somebody, it's a signal, stop giving them answers to their doubts, because they're professional doubt responders. So I'm not sure about my salvation. Yeah, what you're going to need to learn is you're going to need to learn unconditional love. Yeah, but what if I'm not a believer? God's love doesn't apply to me there. What if so they're just what if? It's the defense posture of obsessive-compulsive. And really they're going to need to realize that's what's happening. And you can't keep convincing them. So I find myself, I get pulled in, and then I start getting really tired. And I realize, I did it. I got sucked into answering the yeah, but what if? That's a t-shirt. I want to make yeah, but what if in one word. Okay. Comfort versus compulsion. When I'm spiraling in OCD ruminations, mostly doubts about my salvation, I often find it helpful, comforting to listen to certain videos or read certain books about God's love and acceptance. That's great. When I do that, a lot of times the spirals go away and I feel better. All right. So far, so good. But the spirals always come back again in the next few days. Yeah, that's normal. It's part of the journey. Is this because I'm using the comfortable books as compulsions and I need to stop? No, you're learning about love, and love settles you. It calms you. Of course, these thoughts are going to want to come back. And you're going to practice what you're learning in love. So you feel it come back up again. It doesn't necessarily mean, I got to play a Mark DeJesus video. Where's that video? It means more, I need to practice what I'm learning right now. So I've always end up feeling farther from God. No, it's not about that. You just feel like your association is you're far from him. Or maybe something else I'm missing or doing wrong. Thank you so much for your help, for the hope and encouragement you give in your videos. You're welcome. It's awesome. It's an honor. I got this one on idolatry. I feel like I've talked about idolatry. But I can always. Okay, I'll do this one. This one's. I've been sick with the flu, ear infection, and strep. So sorry. For some reason, my OCD intrusive thoughts have returned. If I see something scary, I immediately become scared. Right. If you see something scary, you be scared. Okay. Afraid that I might hurt someone or that they might hurt me. Okay, you get thoughts about that. I'm almost wondering if the sickness could have triggered this. So yeah, sickness could trigger our thoughts being more prone to more intrusive thoughts for sure. But here's the bigger thing. Sickness causes us to have to slow down. And when we slow down, we get more quiet. And so it can erupt certain swirlies to come on in. So be kind to yourself in that. All right. I made a lot of progress with stopping my compulsion and starving it of attention. Before, I couldn't go to a day without engaging in the compulsion. Now I struggle internally with knowing what to do with certain thoughts. I've been allowing myself to feel through the painful emotions, work through the trauma, and embrace myself as God sees me. Starving the compulsion by ignoring the intrusive thoughts and redirecting have been very helpful. The problem I'm noticing is that both my childhood trauma and the unhealthy compulsion are strongly interlinked. I am concerned that if I completely ignore certain intrusive thoughts that could actually be signaling certain layers of healing buried underneath that I don't want to ignore or neglect in my heart. Okay. Yeah, a lot of OCD sufferers have unhealed trauma in their life. But the trauma, I wouldn't advise chasing what an intrusive thought is triggering you as needing to heal trauma. Healing through trauma, I know there's a lot to the healing of trauma. That's a whole subject in itself. It's about the loving noticing that you see. the obsessive intrusive thoughts, I would not chase them as a way to understand your trauma. I think obsessions will actually distract you from the areas of healing and trauma. And it may appear that it is. So hopefully I'm answering it in what you're asking. Basically, my brain gets really excited when I give healthy nurture to myself over this trauma. Okay. So you have traumas that you're trying to work through, but every time I pay attention to this topic for an extended amount of time, my brain has been conditioned to immediately want to engage in those unhealthy compulsions and habits that pull me down and try to check my value and humanity. It seems like the compulsion grows when I try to nurture my heart. Nurture is going to bring you more to a place of calm reactions to things. Obsessions and compulsions are going to make you be more amped up over something and react in that way. I don't know which thoughts in my heart are crying out for nurture, which ones need healthy attention, or if these thoughts are crying out because of the addiction, compulsion that is starving and needs to be continually ignored. They both feel the same. Well, I would react to everything with nurture. Reacting to everything with nurture means I'm not overreacting. I'm not compulsively trying to fix something. I'm just noticing. It's compassionate grace. I see what's passing through. I don't have to react to it. So my question is, how can I work through trauma that needs nurture, but give it attention seems to make it grow in a bad way? So giving attention to things that are traumatic is not compulsive. So if you just learn to just react in a nurturing way, no matter if it's an intrusive thought, trauma, you're always responding in a way that puts things in perspective. Nurture puts things into perspective. We don't overreact. We don't suppress it. We see it for what it is, and we move in a more gentle kind of way, in a gentle kind of pace. So hopefully that. I got another person who's pregnant. Hey, Mark, I'm 28 years old and found out I'm pregnant about 3 months ago. I believe I'm disobeyed God getting into this relationship because I was tired of waiting for the right one, right time. So you've probably got OCD about relationships, right? You got a lot of pressure. I've had a series of relationships where I've had what you probably call relationship OCD. Many people tell me this voice I'm hearing is not God, but there are reasons why I believe the way I did about these relationships. I used to struggle, and I think I probably still do, with religious OCD, and don't struggle as much anymore because I've honestly not been close with God. In the past, I tried to follow closely with God. A lot of this now seems like it was performance-based. There were times I would believe God was asking me to go dance in front of stores or preach in public places by myself. This got to be something I would run away from. Yeah, that's OCD for sure. I had such a passion for evangelism. This got to be too much. I began fearing what God had to say because it seems like he always wanted me to do something or do something hard. This is where relationships with God got blurry. I'm pregnant now and trying to decide whether or not to marry this man. He's wonderful to me, loves me very much. My whole family loves him. But he's Catholic. Is this the same? Yeah, it's the same question. It's the same question, just sent in a different time. Didn't catch it. I'm laughing because I'm like, all these people getting pregnant writing to me. Oh, that answer is easy. Just go back to the first one. You guys are sneaky. You get a question in, and because I don't read names, then it. That's great. All right. I got a few more here. I think I might be able to. I got 3 more left. Shall we? I think we shall. Okay. So hopefully this isn't one that I've repeated. I thank God for saving you and your family through Jesus. I thank God for the ministry he gave you. I used to be devout and on fire for Jesus. Okay, I'm already sensing it coming. You used to be, so it's like, okay, this means I'm on fire, and now I'm not. It's probably black and white, kind of harsh. I'm just saying, I pick up on these things. But over the years, I saw how sinful I was, and that I was evil, because I did not always obey God. So if you don't always obey God, you're evil. You're evil. You're evil. There's the black and white. Now I'm to the point where I believe God will destroy me. Wow, can we go any further? And ultimately send me to hell. Okay, I guess we can go further. Let's just put a lake of fire in there. Dump it all in there. I've accepted this since it's what I deserved. You keep just taking the hammer and the nail and you're nailing it into yourself. Ching, 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 ching. Ah, why is this hurting? Ching, 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 ching. It's all screaming you're unworthy of being loved. That's what it screams out. I've accepted that since it's what I deserve, but I still pray because I believe God is the only one who can save my brother. Wait. Okay, something going on with your brother. And everyone else I pray for from God's wrath. Oh, you want him to be saved, I'm assuming? Yeah, so you have a wrath-only relationship with God. It's basically what you're bringing out. Do you believe God hears my prayers about other salvation and safety and blessing, regardless of how disobedient I am? Can we take the attention off of your prayers for other people and let's just bring the attention back to you? You don't think you're worthy of God's love, and you're spinning about whether or not God's hearing your prayers about other people, when we need to let God's love have a deeper work in your life today. Healing of the broken heart, brother. There's a punishment-based relationship with God here. I'm going to use the word wrath-based relationship with God. That God hates you. You know, there's people who teach that God hates you. He just really, really hates you. And it's sad that people teach it in that way. Do you believe God hears my prayers? Sometimes I wonder why God would listen to me. Yeah, there's a disconnect in you being connected to the love that he has for you. And then OCDers go, oh, that means I wasn't saved. By the way, I want to say this to all the salvation OCDers. What creates such a distraction is all roads in your life lead back to whether or not you're saved. So it's like, man, I'm having a tough day with this. Well, and if I was a real Christian, then I would, because I'm not saved. You ever see those flow charts where they all kind of lead to the same place, or they like you take this step and this step, it leads you to this step, this step. For the OCDer, there's this place, it says, I'm not saved. And the pathway just leads there. I had a bad day today. Well, Christians don't have bad days. Real Christians always have great days. They have joy. I don't have joy. They don't have depression. And so what it is it's always misdiagnosing you. Always misdiagnosing you. And it's important to be aware of that. So let me get into the next question. Over the past several months, and especially last night, I would hear my name being called while sleeping. Is this God trying to talk to me? Last night, I heard my name being called twice. No. And people are like, wait, what is that? What if it is? No. And I want to watch over my brothers and sisters' mental health, following voices and following. I'm very concerned about where that leads for people. I've known people that are held up as prophets or held up as special. I saw this and I had Jesus come and talk to me, and he talks to me all the time. And I'm not a doubter. I welcome that. I go, that guy's got mental health problems. And sure enough, down the road, you see them manifesting. And I see people that have paranoid schizophrenia kind of issues, and they the way that you heal through schizophrenia. I want to get into paranoid schizophrenia, but one of the aspects of healing through it is practicing input from relationships, because schizo break off into an alternate reality, you know. And OCDers, we can learn a lot from that too, because OCD creates an altered reality. You know, I'm schizophrenic. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying about what's the reality that we live by. And for people with religious OCD that say, I'm not really saved, you live by that reality. So it's like all day you're like heavy, laden, weighed down, discouraged, depressed. And because that reality keeps winning over. And then you fight back by arguing with it. But you need to just go, instead of going, that's fake news, we believe the news. So anyway, so my point being is that it's important that we allow for proper mental health. Hey, God, I don't know. I heard my voice. I don't know. That was weird. If you're trying to say something to me, you're faithful and you show me. I believe in grounding people in what we can learn and know. His love, relationship, connection, the how to get grounded in his word in healthy ways and be able to develop a strong foundation of that, because his love is a foundation for sanity. So anyways, hope you hear my heart in that. And if you don't, that's okay. This one was, hello, Mark. I came across your podcast several months back, and God has used your kind words to greatly improve my spiritual life. I've learned so much about the love of God and his heart towards me, and seeing the Bible in a whole new light. I feel really encouraged that I'm not the only one who struggled with these issues, and I'm very grateful for you and Melissa's ministry. God bless you guys. I've come from a background of religious legalism and scrupulosity, which I still work through, but I've drastically improved. I've also struggled with anxiety and depression. I've been trying recently to embrace the journey mindset, and has been a huge help in recognizing God's grace for me. If it's not too much trouble, I have a question for you about idolatry. Recently, I've had struggles where I would start out strong early in the day, recognizing God's love for me, praying and living out of that space. But as the day goes on, I find myself going hours without thinking of God. Oh, you terrible person. I tend to watch movies and TV shows. Yeah, me too. Commune with family. I do too. Hey, look, we sames. I commune with family, which I love dearly, and do other tasks and other recreational activities. All things I give glory and praise for to God. But I start to feel guilty that God is supposed to be the love of my life, and I don't think about or acknowledge him for most of the day. Yeah, so that's a distorted, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a distorted detection that making God first means you think about him every moment. That's impossible. Yeah, you're putting a think about, like, if you have a great relationship with your spouse, do you think about them 24/7? Now, some people might say, I think about you, they might write a love song about, I think about you every day. That's not healthy. No, you don't think about them. It sounds good in a song, but it's not reality. So living with God is learning to cultivate awareness of his involvement in your life, and that he is there and he never leaves us or forsakes us. To me, that's the best way to cultivate connection. We could use the word intimacy or closeness, is just being aware that he is with us, and he is a loving father, and he is at work in our lives, and he's got our backs, and we're learning to grow in that. So whether you're mowing the lawn or at work, are you actively going, Jesus, you're with me, Jesus, you're with me? That can be a recipe for a lot of torment. So release yourself of that you don't think about him 24/7. It's okay. Whenever I catch myself in this space, I apologize to God. That's your compulsing and apologize. Yeah, you can let that go and ask him to come into every part of my heart and mind, but the struggle still continues. So you're looking for fully. Remember earlier today, fully? Remember fully committed? Am I fully committed? Do you have every part of my heart? It's a metric that is, it's going to create an addict kind of obsessive. And a lot of preachers do. Have we given ourselves fully to God? Today we're going to fully, that's it. We're going to put it all on the line. And half the room is going, I don't know. I don't think I'm fully. I need to because I'm not fully, right? It's creating this, I'm concerned we're creating manic church life. Are you fully, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be up here. I'm fully committed to God. I'm up here. Yeah. Because here isn't. Sorry if my humor's too much for you. That's okay. I also think to myself in this space that maybe I don't love God as much as I think. and that he is not Lord over my life. I worry that I'm distracted by the world or even the things or activities I participate with in family, and such are not necessary, but not necessarily bad, but I place these things higher than God. It makes me think that I haven't surrendered everything to him, keeping me out of a relationship with him. Yeah, you're going to need to learn how to get out of this performance-based Christianity. It's all based on you and doing it right and doing it just right and perfect. It's not letting you grow. You grow in process. If we were to examine any Christian with these metrics, they'd fail. You hear what I'm saying? I'll say this again. If I took the metrics you're laying out to every Christian on the planet, including the super perfect looking ones, they would all fail. Fail. So why don't we just all fail right now? Fail. Whew. Got that over with. Okay, now we can live and grow with God. Yeah, because a lot of distortions that are influencing here. It makes me think I haven't surrendered everything to him. Yeah, so for you, surrender, obedience, fully committed, fully surrendered is they become trigger things that you're not, and you got to do something about it. It's always been a struggle for me to relate to God as well, to discern my desires and passions, if they are godly or not. In relating to God, I often feel like when I try to get closer to him, that he wants me to give up my desires and passions. Everything I want to do is not what God wants me to do. And then here you go. Deny yourself, all that. You're not denying yourself, right? If I want it, God doesn't want it, that kind of thing. I've talked about that many, many times. And it leads me to think I haven't been picking up my cross. Whew, we're putting them all in here today. We're putting them all. We're going to take them all. Deny yourself, fully committed, surrender. Pick up my cross. There we go. That one was missing. We got to get that in there. And selfish desires. I've been caught up in my selfish desires. We got another one. Lukewarm, and Jesus is going to spit me out. So all this false diagnostics that are being put on this out of context. And if you notice, it's not producing fruit. A lot of times OCDers need to go, okay, let me look at the pathology of how I live. And what is it producing? And it's interesting that we still defend, like, well, I got to do this. God wants us fully surrendered. But we see I'm more depressed. I'm losing joy. It's like, hey, maybe how I'm going about this needs restructuring. Right? So you think Jesus is going to spit you out? I've asked God that my desires and passions would line up with his and he would shape my heart, but it's hard to tell if these are desires. Yeah, because you're asking God questions that he's not asking. You're evaluating yourself in a way he's not evaluating you. So then it kind of creates this dead end, but then we just keep doing it because we don't know what else to do. And really what you need is unconditional love. And that's uncomfortable because it's like, but I got idols. I got it. Okay. Whether you do or you don't, you're loved. And the love is going to lead you to understanding the truth that sets you free. Truth in love, faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love, leads us relationally. So you need nurture and you need some self-compassion. I don't know if it's hard to tell if these desires and activities are godly. I also don't know if this might be a compulsion or perfectionism at work. Would love to hear your thoughts, and thank you once again for your ministry. Well, thank you all. This was fun. I had a good time today. I got very animated, even a little perspiration. My wife went up to storage and I thought a demon was chasing me. I don't know if you heard it through the mic. I was like, I'm doing a video. And she was up on there's an outside stairwell up. She's like, I'm sorry. I was put something away. So it's all right. Honey, I love you. It's all good. And anyways, hope y'all are blessed today. You're blessed, not stressed, right? Is that a good cliche? I'm trying to think of another one. All the time. God is good. God is good all the time. Anyways, be loved today. Be loved in the love of our Father and the grace of Jesus Christ. It's great to be your brother from another mother. Please support this. Share it with your friends. You can donate by going to markdejesus.com. Donate any amount. Any amount. It doesn't have to be a lot. And you may want to consider becoming a regular supporter. I will be putting out a book on OCD in 2023. Hopefully, the earlier the better. That's my goal. ASAP is my goal in 2023. And pray for me on that. And in the meantime, it's time for me to head out. But Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. It's your brother from another mother. from another mother, a brother from another mother, saying, I'm out. See y'all. Love you.